Oh, come on. Low network. Oh, hold on. Try again. It says we're live. Okay, I'm assuming we're live. Well, this is True Power is Mine. This is a special report. I am so pleased, so honored to have a great member of our collective family. I choose to say the human family, the human race. I have Steve Hindy from Shark. He's a man who actually puts his mouth where his Facebook comments are. He actually goes out in the fields and actually documents this on a ground in the trenches level. And what I mean by this is animal abuse. Steve, you're on the phone?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And please, I'm just going to shut up right now. Please share your bio with us, and more importantly, share where people can send you money for the war chest to get out here and do the good work.
Well, oh boy, I don't know if you hear the clock back here. At least we know what time it is.
Big Ben.
I'm a former hunter. Hunted for 30 years, and happened to come upon what was called the live pigeon shoot, is called the live pigeon shoot, where people get their kicks by putting live pigeons into traps or little catapults, really is what it is, and they toss these pigeons up into the air one at a time, and they shoot at them. Mm. And they can shoot hundreds or even thousands of animals in a day, multiple, they make it into a contest, and multiple contestants can shoot many hundreds to thousands of birds, and they leave many dozens to hundreds of birds injured in the surrounding area. It's not just animal cruelty. It's like a cancer on society. Yes. This level of animal abuse. And so I decided that I wouldn't hunt anymore, that I was going after the wrong species, that instead of hunting animals, I would hunt animal abuse.
There you go. There you go. Now, but about your hunting, though, did your daddy and uncles teach you, the hunting the hunting skills, or how did you learn that?
Well, family. My dad wasn't around, but family taught, I learned about fishing. That was really what I mainly liked to do, but also, shooting, hunting for ducks and pheasants and, that kind of thing.
So now when you say, and I just want people to understand this, when Steve says he's going to stop hunting, so in a way he's going to also stop associating with his family members, because that would be activity. And I just want to drive this home, that you had choices. You could have been like a lot of people. Oh, I just don't care. I just don't care. I'm still going to go here. I'm still going to go to these, and I really hate to digress here, but the pigeon, if you would just go to his YouTube page and see this video and see the bird. I mean, seriously, folks, see the bird on the ground. And they have a close-up of this one bird. It's so vivid in my memory right now, where on his poor little neck there, you can see the blood coming out underneath his foot. I mean, and they just leave these things. And I keep saying these things because, once again, I'm just as guilty as these guys. But I'm trying to change my ways. I'm trying to look at the world in a totality. It's not just man and animals and plants. It's one family, and we need to all work together. I'm sorry for my little rant there, but No,
I think it's that you have that much compassion and that much of a conscience towards non-humans is, I think, a very, very positive thing. But if people would just, this is whether you're a meat eater, a vegan, a vegetarian, whatever, if we would just think about the impact we have on the lives of others, non-humans, humans,
yes,
the environment, if people would just give it some thought, none of us are perfect. None of us are ever going to be perfect. But if we would just make an effort and think a little bit beyond our own little bubble,
yes,
we really could make this world so much of a better place. And that's really what this is all about. Trying, we don't, Shark does not do a lot of protesting. What we do is try to document animal abuse, especially things that are hidden, where the bad guys are trying to hide what they do, whether it's in rodeos or bullfighting or pigeon shoots or whatever it is.
I'm so sorry, Steve. You said rodeo, and that's a trigger word. I have to say this for the audience. I saw one of Steve's videos. It's called the Yank Down. That's where they take these poor little calves, right? These little, these little boys are probably maybe 9, 10 months old. They're running, and this little boy on the horse, he lassos this thing, and you think it's going to be nice. No, they do backflips, 180s in the air, hits the ground. The poor animals is in nervous system shock. It's trembling. And then they'll come out, and all the horses and all the other rodeo people will get around the animal. So you don't see them put it on a winch, and it goes in this big old truck, and you know what happens to it. It dies. It dies in pain.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, by the way, just a quick correction. It's a jerk down.
Oh, jerk down. I'm sorry.
It's an official term, a jerk down, and it's supposed to be a band in rodeo, but we see it all the time. And so a lot of times, and this is another problem in the world today. We all lie so much.
Yes.
The president is one of the most prolific. When you have a president who is such a prolific liar as we have now, and it has filtered down to everything. I mean, everybody lies so much. And like for instance, in rodeo, they lie claiming that they have humane rules, and those rules are not enforced. And the pigeon shooters, of course, they realize they really do realize, they agree with us about pigeon shoots, that the pigeon shoots are cruel and that they are scumbags for doing it.
But do you think they're conducting business?
They try to hide behind trees and up hills and behind fences and one thing after another. You've seen our videos. You know that what I'm telling you. Coca-Cola, which is a major sponsor of rodeos and a major sponsor of the Iditarod, which is a cruel and deadly dog race. Coca-Cola just puts out some corporate nonsense about, we care about them. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
They give money to animal abusers, and they know that they're giving money to animal abusers. And all they do is put out corporate lies, and will not even discuss the issue with the people like us who actually watch it and document it and put it out to the world. So you've got politicians, and you've got corporations, and you've got the people who should be leading us, showing us the way to live good lives, are simply lying and teaching all of us that, just lie because you can get away with it today. And it's not the thing to do.
Look,
I tell you what, I am watching a country, I am watching what was perhaps the greatest nation to have ever existed. I'm watching it devolve into a third world nation before my very eyes.
It's a third world
I'm
nation.
18 years older than you are. I'm almost 2 decades older than you are. So I lived 2 decades earlier where although it was always a nation that was, imperfect, to say the very least, we never saw the level of lies in many ways as we do, where we just simply, if you don't like a fact, you simply say, "Oh, that's fake news."
Right.
I mean,
dismissive. That's so
and
dismissive.
we get that thrown at us all the time. Oh, your videos are manipulated.
Yes.
No, they're not. They're simply not. But people say, or people who claim that these mass murders or mass murders of children in schools and things like that, they don't want to admit to the situation that we've got, to the storm that we're in here. And so they simply deny it. They simply deny it. They can't deal with the truth. We need to deal with the truth, whether it's about animals, humans, the environment, each other. We have to deal with the truth, or I'll tell you what, we are going to lose it all.
Yeah, I could bring the point home like this. I saw one of your videos, this punk with his damn leash. And he was walking his dog. He was one of those haters, And if you wonder why your boss doesn't give you a raise or doesn't treat you right on a job, the owner, he's probably one of these pricks. He hit Steven right here on the head, right here on the crown. So he's blood. You see on the video, Steve has blood all over the dome of his head, on his neck, all red. He actually bled for the cause. Also got ran over by somebody. When I see a man, a alpha male stand up for the right cause, that energized me as an alpha male to want to stand up, be like, well, if they infringe on his ability to speak the truth, they're going to infringe on my ability of truth. And then another alpha male. That's why we all have to stand up together and work together on this, because the inhumane treatment of animal goes hand in hand with the inhumane treatment of other human beings. Thank God Steve knows the law.
The FBI has now, it's clear. It's clear with people in law enforcement, from the FBI down to any really truly professional law enforcement organization, that people who abuse animals are far more likely to abuse people.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that. We see that. They're willing to shoot animals just for fun, and they're willing to pull guns on us if they think they can get away with it.
Yes.
They have aimed cars at us, and they'll do anything that they can.
Yes.
If we hear about psychopaths and mass murderers and all that, I don't think the average person has any concept of how many psychopaths we really have in society. We're loaded with them. We're loaded. I guarantee you got psychopaths living on your block. And the only reason that they're not completely acting out is that they're also cowards. Animal abusers, well, it's true.
Yes.
It's true. We refer to what we call the 3 C's of animal abuse, which is cruelty, cowardice, and corruption. And they go hand in hand. And the only reason that you don't have psychopaths that are just doing the most horrific things based on whether it's they'd be going after children, or based on religion, or based on race, or based on sexual preference, or whatever it is because they're just too cowardly and they don't want to face up to the consequences. But in the case of like the people that we deal with, they are very, very wealthy most of the time.
Yes.
They are very politically connected.
Yes.
And so they don't have a lot of those inhibitions, because they literally can get away with just about anything.
Say it like it is. They can literally get away with murder, because I saw on that video, he was at, Steve and his crew was, posted up to set up the scene on the street filming, the usual activity by the usual crowd. Well, the county sheriff comes up, rolls up, tries to get his identification, his information, but thank God he knows the law. And I believe it was in New York, and he didn't have to give the identification. But then they pressed it, and they got what they want. And they immediately ran back across the street and tells the security guard this man's information. It's like, wow, what the hell's going on? Have we lost our sense of civic, I don't know, duty, civic understanding, that even though you're a police officer, a FBI agent, a soldier, or even a common citizen and not a civilian, you're a citizen. You're a member of a republic. But that being said, we all have the same responsibility to uphold the law. Now, if we know that these boys are over here shooting these dead animals, and I tell you the real deal going on, it's not about killing those fucking animals. It's about those guys sitting there talking business. I guarantee you, people are getting contracts signed. There's real business, real money going on, while they're setting up whatever. That's the real kick. Now the killing an animal is to sate that bloodlust they have. That seriously, if it was legal right now, folks, if they could somehow make it to where prisoners could actually go into a gladiator type situation, you would have UFC or whatever, that ultimate fighting deal, on steroids. They would have man fight to the death if they could legally get away with it. And they probably do underground.
Yeah, it really is true. I mean, back before it was against the law to hold dog fights, there were lots of dog fights.
Yes.
And then the people would go home to their families.
Right.
Before it was illegal to have slaves, there were lots of slaves.
Yes.
And so
And it's still on the books. The
That's
14th Amendment to the Constitution doesn't eradicate slavery. It still can be used as a criminal punishment. So all the criminals, prisoners, are technically slaves. That's why you can work them on forms for next to nothing. Because they're slaves. They have no rights that are granted by the Constitution underneath our republic. Because this is not a democracy. It is a republic. And that's why if we get to that mindset, we can change the way we think. We shouldn't have to have a law saying you shouldn't go out here and brutalize animals. Damn it. We shouldn't have that law. We should have that decency as human beings.
We as a society have grown so weak. For the most part, I mean, Americans have become fat, stupid, and lazy. And I don't mean to be rude about that. I'm telling the truth here. Look at this. We've had children being slaughtered in schools for how many years now? I mean, this is not a new thing. And everybody just kind of throws their hands up and they make a little effort for a couple days. They speak up a little bit and then it just goes back to the status quo. Now, after this thing in Florida, here came the students and they weren't just going to take the usual line. They weren't just going to follow the usual rules. And they've started to make change. If they can just hold on, if they can just keep going and keep that attitude that they're going to make this work no matter what, if they can do that, and if other people would just support them or support anybody who's really trying to make change. Look, in Oklahoma, let me switch gears real quick here. I want to show you something. You know who Senator Jim Inhofe is, right? From Oklahoma?
I've heard of him.
He's Senator Snowball, the guy who held up a snowball in the Senate and said, "See, there's no global warming." Yes. I mean, he's a moron and he's a nut and he is very, very corrupt. Well, Senator Inhofe held an annual live pigeon shoot fundraiser, and we went after this guy in his own state. Now, you have to understand that in his state, he is practically an emperor. So because of all his power, we couldn't get help from the local police, from the county sheriff, from the state police, not from the FBI. Even after they were shooting our drones down, we were in danger of a lot of violence out there in Oklahoma, let me tell you. But we went after this guy and we wouldn't back down. And in just 3 years, we shut him down in his own state from that pigeon shoot. Now, this is what people can do, and it doesn't take a lot of people. You wish you had a lot, but, just one person standing their ground. I mean, you look at Gandhi or look at King, the people, if just one person will stand up for a good thing and say, I am not backing down. Right. You know what? You may lose your money, you may lose your freedom, you may lose your life, and that's been proven. Yes. But don't you wish that you could have the legacy of a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi or anybody who stands for a real principle so strong and so relentlessly that it goes on after they're no longer here? Because you know what? The game ends the same way for all of us. It doesn't matter how much money you have or political power, whatever. We're all going. But you might as well go having left a good mark, because otherwise, what's the point?
I guess the point is this here, Steve. I mean, just to switch another gear. What are your thoughts on extraterrestrial life outside the Earth biosphere? Do you believe in it or not?
Oh, I have no idea whatsoever, but I think that many, many things that we have no concept of are possible. Remember, the Earth used to be flat.
Yeah, right.
I mean, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Oh, yes, that was.
And when I believe it was Galileo said that it wasn't flat, he was threatened with his life
by the church,
because everybody knows the world is flat. And we know things until we find out that we didn't know anything,
or until we have the liberty to think a certain way, a different way. Because at that, even though we laugh at that time, there were existential pressures that said you have better write a certain way, you better talk a certain way, you better behave a certain way, because we detect something different. Well, we have something called the, Inquisition, that you could straighten you out. Literally straighten you out. So, that's why we're so lucky or blessed to live in this time zone right now. Because 200 years from now, 300 years from now, when someone finds this show in some sort of archive somewhere, and they're going to see two human beings understanding what it's really about. Because the reason why I mentioned the extraterrestrial life, Steve, without people understanding what you're talking about on a fundamental level, any type of contact with an outside alien life force would be very devastating for us as humanity. Because could you picture Donald Trump with a space armada, or a man that thinks like Donald Trump with a space armada going through the universe, projecting, this is what Earth is about. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to take all your resources and we're going to make you a McDonald's and you'll be fat and lazy just like us. It'll be perfect.
I hope that I hope there's life in other places. I hope it's intelligent life so that we can't destroy it. And I hope maybe they can teach us something.
Yeah, but how come we can't be the teachers? How come we cannot be the teachers? I believe that was our original purpose. Because we do have
intellect. Leadership is in such short supply today.
True.
It's just, there are so few people. You apparently saw that video of the when we were stopped by New York police, the state police, and a county sheriff's department.
Yes.
Oh gosh, now I kind of lost my thought on that. Oh well, it don't matter.
It all evens out.
That's like I said, I'm 18 years older than you are.
Hey, I have those moments as already. But you know what? The thing about it is that neither one of us is using a teleprompter. Neither one of us has a script. This is genuine, mano a mano, human conversation, unscripted, unfiltered. This is what the people want. This is what the people need. They need to hear, grown men talk about serious issues, talk about things that, why do these opinions affect me? The reason why they affect you, the people who are doing these things control your economics. They control your school. They control your county government. They control your state and national government. All right. So, and then even with the rodeo thing, I'm a blue collar guy. I own my own construction business or whatnot, but I understand a man has to make that money to bring home to provide for his own. I get it. And, even though I brought up that, I was kind of wrestling with myself earlier thinking, do I even want to bring up the rodeo thing? Because I know it will affect people's jobs. Even those two hateful people that were there in the bleachers when your guy was trying to film that calf, they were being really ignorant. I get it. They do have babies at home. They do have loved ones that maybe they're taking care of a mom or dad that's sick or whatever. But damn it, we have to come to a point okay, is there another way that we can rework this economic thing to where animals and people do not have to be exploited for this engine to go?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't say, in my opinion, you can't say, that's how they make their money. Because you know what? There are families. There are cultures who make their money by producing dangerous drugs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, So
and monsters and all that.
Sure. I mean, there are people who make their money by with prostitution, and any number of really, there are people who make money by polluting.
Yeah.
And so
Monsanto.
What we have to do. Yeah, one of the worst.
And also, before I forget this, please talk about the corporate. If you have any information about those corporate farm organizations, and more importantly, how much those big corporate farms pollute our natural waters and well waters, and generally make the animals horrible living conditions.
Well, one of the reasons that you really, it'd be good if people would eat less or stop eating meat is that it requires thousands and thousands of gallons to produce 1 pound of beef. To a hamburger takes, so many pounds worth of, so many gallons worth of water and pounds of grain to feed, whether it's a chicken or a cow or, because, for instance, what do you weigh? I weigh about 200 pounds.
I'm like,
but in the course of my getting up to weigh 200 pounds, I've eaten thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of food and thousands untold thousands of gallons of water. And so it's the same thing. So if we had, and of course the entire world now is really looking down the road before too far, and some places are really suffering right now with severe shortages of water. And our human population is only growing. Nobody seems to want to talk about how at some point down the road here, we're going to have to stop having more people, because we're becoming like a virus on this planet, where a virus gets into a host and it grows and it grows and it grows, and if something doesn't happen to make that virus stop growing, it literally kills the host. Well, we are in the process of killing our host, Earth. The water, we're polluting the air. We are in a bad way, and in some ways, I'm lucky that I'm 18 years older than you, because down the road, you're going to have to deal with this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And your children even more, and their children.
Yes.
I am fearful for them. I really am. And this isn't just, some wacko activist talk. This is like the United Nations. This is like the U.S. military is talking about global warming, because it's going to have an effect on the political system.
Yes. There's
going to be more wars, because people are going to look at the people who don't have food and water are going to be looking at the people who do. And they're going to be going, you know what? That place is looking pretty good to us right now. I mean, just like, how we've started wars in the Middle East because we've got eyes on oil.
Yep.
It's very much the same thing, only it's going to be much, much, much more intense.
Yeah, because the bottom line,
so
you
really,
can live. I'm sorry.
In fighting to make a better world for animals, people go, oh, why aren't you fighting for people too? You know what? We are. Because when we fight, for instance, a corrupt company like Coca-Cola, or a corrupt politician like Jim Inhofe, and we take out some of that corruption, we have made the place better for everybody.
Right.
People who fight for the environment are fighting for humans. People who are fighting for real justice for humans are fighting for justice for the world, for the environment, and for animals. It's all part of the same. It's of the same circle of life, and it's part of the same game. So I get a kick out of it when somebody, for instance, on YouTube will make a comment, oh, why don't you care about children and humans and all this? And I go look at their webpage, and all they're into guns, or they're just into gaming or something like that. Doesn't have to be guns. It could be just about anything else. But what they're not into is what they were just complaining about us not being into.
They were trolling.
And it's funny.
There's trolls.
And in fact, I remembered that thing I was going to talk about, which was, you saw that illegal stop in New York, where the police were just doing the will of
we saw you find a drone.
Dog breeders.
We saw you find a drone.
Well,
that was the initial stop.
The comments from so many people. The comments are, "Why did you take up the time of the police? Why didn't you just submit? Why didn't you just obey?" Because the cops were corrupt. You fight corruption. People who live on their knees do not get my respect.
Right.
And so the reason you don't submit to corruption is because it's corrupt.
Exactly. No, it's a principle. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It is a principle. And people, like you said, our society has been basically effeminized to, how dare you stand up, all the other sheeples, bad, don't hurt me here. I'll give you my speeding citation here. Just don't hurt me. I pay my taxes. And you're like, no, this is wrong. You guys are wrong. Oh, what's your identification? Well, why are you stopping me? Oh, you're in contempt of a cop now. They come up with the weirdest bullshit. And you guys, like I said, if they were trigger happy, I just don't like that scene. I don't think that the public servants should be that hostile against people who are only armed with cameras and who are only doing their constitutional right on a public. When you're in public, you have the right to film everything in sight. So you're not
Sure.
breaking into the facility. You're right there on the road. But no, that's not good enough. See, if by God, if we let one little, because let's face it, slavery hasn't ended. We're all just Pharaoh slaves now. If you don't believe you're a Pharaoh slave, stop working for 7 months and see if you're homeless or not. That will determine how free one is. And you have to understand, when Steve and others are out here doing this thing, they are going against people that can hurt you. See, it's so easy to point your finger at the homeless person. Oh, they're just drunks or drug addicts, blah, blah, blah. They can't hurt you. But the people that he's dealing with, they can sure enough hurt you. And that's why you have my utmost respect. That's why it was like, it was almost like a holy mission to get you on the line tonight to share your thoughts, your experiences with the people at large, because you are an unsung hero, man. I mean, look, I know after 9/11, we put elevated soldiers and police officers and firemen on pedestals. They could do no wrong, but we all know everyone's subject to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why we have a constitution. That's why you have a Bill of Rights. That's why, as long as you're not a fourth waiver or someone on probation, you should exercise those rights every opportunity. They work for you, folks. You do not work for them. Unless you're a criminal. Then you work for them, unfortunately.
Well, again, it's a matter of every single day. We start a day and we have an opportunity to make the world a little bit better place. Maybe just a little bit better for somebody, for your family. You certainly want to do that.
Yes.
But you can go beyond that. There's just these small things that we can do. Just a consideration for especially those who have less than us, or those who, less power, less money, less whatever. When you see somebody in need, whether it's an animal, a human, or whatever, try to help. Try to help. When you do that, for instance, I've got a Donald Trump. If you want to see the evidence that the country is headed for third world status in just the next couple of generations, the electing of a person like that, yes, who is so clearly cares about nobody but himself, and it's alarming and it's pitiful that we have somebody like that at the head of this country. Although I will say, I do believe that for the most part, the country has the government it deserves.
No.
But that's a bad thing. It's a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah.
So he has billions of dollars. Who knows how many? Who cares? Who cares?
Right.
Because you don't need billions of dollars to have a great life.
Right.
But I would tell you this, that when you go out and you actually help somebody who's a homeless person, who's hungry or cold in the winter, or you help an animal, you help a dog that needs help, or whoever it is, or for that matter, you go out and do something really good for the environment, even if you're the only one who knows that you did it. You will, if you'll just try this, those of you with a conscience, those of you who are good people inside, you will experience a pleasure, you will experience a warm feeling that you can't get if you have billions of dollars but you have no soul.
Mm.
The people who can never ever have enough, and who can never ever have enough money, they will never be happy. And because they always have this big hole in their soul.
Yes.
And they can't fill it because they're trying to fill it with all the wrong stuff. I tell you, when we go out, when we go out, we're able to help these animals. We're able to stop some of these activities that are going on, or at least cut them down to one degree or another. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. You can't get it. You can't buy it with money. And you can't get it with drugs. It's just not there except to go out and do good.
Yep.
And just do the best. You don't have to be perfect. Just try. God knows I'm one of the most imperfect people you'll ever meet. But
aren't we all?
But I can tell you this, and with pride and with happiness, that we've saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of animals' lives, millions of them. In the process, We've exposed corrupt police, corrupt politicians. We've seen new and better laws come into effect for animals and sometimes for people too. Because, for instance, you know, when we saw sheep being abused in rodeos because they're putting kids on them, sheep are not load-bearing animals. They're not supposed to have people of any size on them. So when you get the sheep riding knocked out, you also are stopping kids from being injured in sheep riding, the mutton busting, as they call it, which happens. You know, it's just, and of course, when we're able to save animals, a lot of people out there who are hurt by knowing or seeing that animals are being injured and killed, they're happy too. So again, you've helped people. You've helped them feel better about the world and themselves and what's around them. So these kids down in Florida who are standing up because of what happened to their friends, you know, those kids, and you can see the power that they're developing. It's a wonderful thing to see. I love it. And I hope that they will just keep on keeping on and, you know, and just continue to fight, because personally, I got to tell you, if I was just a normal person, you know, I went out and I worked during the week and I watched TV or
keep your head
go
down,
to the ball
stay
game or whatever,
asleep.
I'd be bored to death. I'd probably be committing suicide by now because that is a boring life to me. It's just boring.
That's existence.
And you know, when I was hunting animals, I did it because I enjoyed it and I found it to be a challenge. It was not the right kind of challenge, but when I then switched from hunting animals to hunting animal abusers and stopped abusing animals myself, like I say, you know, when we win these issues and we drive these people, you know, they're embarrassed. They're, you know, they know what they were doing was wrong, and they're on the run and they're looking for cover and all that. Hey, I get a real kick out of that. You know, I love that.
And
you know, we put up
like
we put up.
Oh, I'm sorry. You put up.
Well, I used to have trophies. I used to have trophy animals. I had a 7.5-foot mako shark that I caught up on the wall. I had a 24-pound northern pike and a 25-pound king salmon. And all that. I had these trophies up. Well, obviously, I literally buried them when I made my change. And what I have up now are, like, for instance, when the New York Times did a piece on when we went after Pepsi Cola for sponsoring bullfights, and we got a piece in the New York Times. That's now framed and up and on the wall. There have been a couple of cartoonists who, well, you know, the political type cartoons where they drew cartoons referring to, well, because we exposed some rodeos, and so they did cartoons on that. Those are framed and up and on the wall. And various news stories where we really exposed something that made change. Those are the trophies now. And what they all say is less cruelty, less violence, less corruption. Yes. And isn't that the kind of world that we want? Yes. We want a world with less cruelty, less cowardice, and less corruption.
Yes, and more accountability. And more accountability. You know, I mean,
that's for sure.
My dad used to say, no one respects what you don't inspect. You know, I mean, as a father myself, if I go and tell one of my children, you need to go and clean your room, and I just go off there and I never come back to make sure they do that, I don't inspect their work, it will never get done. You see, you know, and my sociologist teacher has said something that has always stuck with me. Human beings are pain-avoiding, pleasure-seeking beings. That's what we do. We avoid pain and we seek pleasure, you know. And the thought of these cats out here blowing away these animals, seriously, blowing away the animals, are jerking them down to where they snap their necks, and they're actually getting pleasure, because we seek out pleasure, mind you. They seek that out. Jesus, what would they do if the law said, well, you can do that to a human being? It don't even matter. As long as they're not, you know, in this sort of category, you know, you can do them all. You know, I mean, for Christ's sakes, over in Libya, what was it, 4 months ago, they had the pictures of people being sold into slavery still. And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and this is
there's a lot more psychopaths out there than we want to pretend, than we want to admit to.
Right. And this is something that, I was debating a lady a few days ago, and this has really stuck with me. It kind of goes along with the overall theme tonight of justice. And she was talking about the South Africa land deal where they're like taking the white farmers' land away and giving it back to the people. And I was trying to justify it by the RICO law statute, all right? And I had it all planned out, researched it to the hill. And I don't want to go into all that because it's this pure foolishness, because she stumped me when she came back with this rebuttal that I did not anticipate. After it's all said and done, well, what about if the Native Americans did the same thing here in America? Would you be quick to give up your land? And when she said that, I was stumped. There was nothing but silence. I could not calculate a logical and honorable response to that, because if we're going to play by the same rules, well, then I need to be packing up my knapsack and getting the hell out of here just like everybody else, because this is stolen land as well, because they can use treaties to go back and you broke this treaty, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, well, then, my God, then what can we do? Ain't no one moving. How can we figure out this economic situation to divvy up the goods amongst everybody correctly? That's all. So,
I think it can be done. You go back to the very beginning of humankind, and you're going to find, wars where land was taken from one party, went to another, and then taken from that party, went to another, and on it goes. Who was it? What we have to do, the situation is what it is today. It is less important, as far as I'm concerned, who had it a generation or two ago, or 1 or 200 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or whatever, because we could be playing that game forever.
Yes.
I mean, who knows who was actually there first? And but is there not enough of a world for all of us?
Yes.
Again, it goes back to, let's give consideration to everybody, because there's enough to go around. If we just don't play the game where let's get everything that take everything that you possibly can, and to hell with everybody else. That's the problem.
Hoarding.
It has less to do with exactly who deserves what or had what or whatever, because believe me, that's a never-ending circle jerk.
You got that right.
But it's just, there is enough to go around if we don't play the greed game and the careless game, where we just say, oh, that person doesn't matter because they're a Mexican, they're rapists, they're bringing in drugs, all that nonsense.
Right.
For our country to have even sat and listened to that kind of hate speech, or well, those Muslims, they shouldn't be allowed, or this or that or the other thing. It's just, we have to get past that.
Well, let me share something
surely
with you.
we have enough knowledge now that it's so, actually, those people who actually think that of Muslims or people of different colors or sexual persuasion, they need to go and meet those people and actually spend time with them.
Right.
Because when you do that, you find that we're all so much alike. You know what's not, what really isn't alike?
What's that?
Is that we allow ourselves, as if we were sheep, we allow ourselves to just be herded around, herded into this political party or that political party, or this religion or that religion, or this economic class versus another economic class. And if we could stop that, and I think it's a real uphill climb. I'm not pretending it's not.
But
if we could stop that and just start mixing it up, and trying to be good people.
Yes.
Really trying to be good people. We could turn this planet into into a paradise.
Heaven on earth.
It is a paradise.
It is.
It is a paradise. We've screwed it up so bad.
I'm a huge sci-fi fan, right? If you really break down the Earth, the Earth is the ultimate mothership. The Earth itself. We're flying right now, Steve. You, me, the listeners, everybody on this planet. We're flying through space and time. not only that, we're rotating on our axis. We're spinning on our axis, rotating around the sun, and we're keeping all the shit in time. You know, we're not crashing. We're not getting too close, too far from the sun. Everything's staying kosher. Dude, we don't really have to go nowhere. We have everything we need. If we were in outer space right now, there's potential we could not have food. We could not have air. We could not have water. We're down here. We have plenty of food. We have plenty of water. We have plenty of air. All I'm saying is, you know, perhaps all these animals, even the dreaded mosquito, they all have their damn place on this mothership. You know, some of them are cleaning up after, you know, I mean, let's face it, we do things down here that are unsavory. So we have to have critters to clean them up. All right. I say that, you know, like there was a lady, you know, her whole deal was, I love my dogs. I love my dogs. I told her, I go, you know, if you love that dog so much, why don't you just let it go? Just, no, seriously, open up the door, let it run, and see if it comes back. You know, how can you sit here and say you love it? Once again, the only reason why I say that, I think that sometimes people start living in this daydream scenario, you know, that like, let's say a couple of aliens came through right now and zapped us to their spaceship, right? We're in some sort of box, all right? We're their pets, right? Well, you know, guys, we can hook you up to simulations and give you steaks and stuff, but would we ever really love them? They've ripped us away from our families. They've ripped us away from our friends, our neighbors, our communities, and we're supposed to love that. But see, no one ever would even contemplate giving that type of thought towards an animal situation. Oh, those animals don't care about each other. I beg to differ. You know, when I'm walking through the woods and I'm sitting there listening, and it's kind of like animal watching, I guess, you can see certain behavior patterns. You know, you can see the spunkier one, you know, the little squirrel that seems to always, you know, able to get the best nuts. He's always running up there to his little house, his little, I guess, nest up there, putting that stuff in there. And I notice these things. And even, you know, the little simple things, like during the summer times out here, we have these cicada bugs, right? They give out this high pitched tone. All right. You know, you miss it all winter. Like right now, you won't hear them. You go outside and you're like, man, it's so quiet. But in the summer, it's never quiet. And you have the beautiful lightning bugs, you know? So it's like, there's so much beauty down here, Steve. But at the same time, because we have so many gatekeepers, I call them, you know, they keep you away from the food. They keep you away from the knowledge. They keep you away from freedom. They keep you away from prosperity. They're the gatekeepers. That's why so many people are sheeple. That's why so many people will see a woman being accosted on the street right now, smacked around by a gang of dudes, and they'll just, well, not my problem. I just gotta keep on going. Won't even pull up a camera and videotape it. Won't do nothing because they're spineless worms. And guess what, though? Apparently, in the United States of America, spineless worms actually rise to the top. Because, you know, if you're an alpha, you better realize, you know, the criminal justice system's kind of against you. Society as a whole don't really want to hear what you have to say. It's all about, you know, I don't know what it's about now. It's a bunch of debauchery, but we have to change people's minds, and that's what I hope this show does. I hope it, you know, reaches young people, because this is what this show targets. We do not target Fox News or any of the older folks, because they're like concrete. They're already set in their ways. I need some wet mortar, something that we can throw a couple of additives in there, and maybe when it hardens up, it's going to be different than the crap we got now.
Well, it would be nice if people would stop being stratified by whether it's religion or economics or, you know, whatever, political classes or whatever. The things that I think that we need to be concerned about are the people who actually care, want to be good people and care about each other and care about the planet we live on and those that we live on it with, versus people who don't care. And look, we've got good people in every society. We've got bad people in every society. It's just the way it is. You know, if some of the bad people, maybe because of the way they were raised or because of prejudices that they might be able to get past with some education and understanding and you know, that kind of thing, brotherly love or sisterly love or whatever. I'm sure some people can be brought back from the brink or whatever. I mean, look, in the first 30 years I was involved in hunting and fishing, and I killed thousands and thousands of animals, and some in very, horrible ways. Really,
but you ate them all, though, didn't you? Didn't you eat them?
For the most part, but no, not always. We used to catch and kill carp because we were told they were bad for the lakes and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we were like your average American that if there's too many of them, and then
go.
kill them.
You gotta go.
That's it's the way I was raised, like the good old American way.
Yeah.
But now you have to at least, if we can at least try to do things in a way that where we don't just destroy things,
Right.
just don't kill lives, take lives, and all this kind of thing. We'd be a much better. It's the people who don't give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
It's the corporate raiders and the soulless politicians who, to get maybe some pressure off them, something bad that they were doing, will send people into a war.
Yes.
So that they turn the public's attention from one thing to another. There are presidents have been doing that for generations,
Mm-hmm.
and in a lot of ways, we are ruled and we are led by the very worst among us, which has taken this country to where it is now. And if we keep it up, well, I already think that America has the government it deserves, which
That's so
doesn't
horrible,
serve them.
Steve. That's so horrible. But I understand what you're saying when you say that. That's horrible.
But if we don't get our act together, we're going to destroy the entire planet. And that's not just hyperbole. That's the U.S. government, our armed forces saying it. It's the United Nations saying it, and it will end one way or another. Either we'll stop the nonsense, or the nonsense will stop us.
Real quick, I had to ask you this because a lot of young viewers always, send me emails. What is your opinion, if you even have one, about a potential World War III and or American Civil War?
Well, every day it looks like we're headed more towards American Civil War, doesn't it? I mean, we're almost there. Let's hope that we can be walked back from the brink. But boy, there is so much hate right now, and distrust. And we're at the point where people now, they don't want to believe the media. And in many cases, it's because the media
lies.
Wasn't doing its job. They don't trust the politicians, and it's certainly because the politicians in many ways have not done their job, and they hate each other because they don't understand each other. So, we just write off somebody in a different religion or whatever. So we're close. We're close to that civil war in the U.S. What was the other part of the question?
What about World War III, potential World War III?
I don't know. Have we ever stopped fighting wars? I mean, we've never. I don't think the world has been at peace.
Not America.
Since World War II. We've never really stopped. No. We walked right into the Korean War, and then into the Vietnam War, and Afghanistan, and Iran, and Iraq, and Israel's at war with
Grenada.
Everybody, and everybody's at war. It's going on and on. Russia's going into one place or another. China, we've always been at war.
But see, when I was a kid, you remember this too, back in the 80s. Russia was our mortal enemy, and by God, there ain't no way we would have dealt with China back then because they were communists. The communists were out to kill us. That was the whole gag. That was what we all believed. But now it's like even the stuff we're using tonight, Steve, is China. All this.
Yeah, we were in China. A couple of us went to China a few years ago because just some Chinese activists asked us to come over because they were trying to bring in American rodeo. So we went, and I got to meet a number of people in China, and to spend some time looking at their culture. They have what a history, what a culture, what a people they are. They're wonderful people. The China. I loved China. I would live in China in a heartbeat. And I think, I don't know. Well, I take that back. I actually do know a few Russians, not real well,
right.
But there are Russians who fly ultralights at the same place where we practice with our copters.
Okay.
And so I have had a chance to speak with Russians when we're out there together, and they're great guys. They're great guys. I love them.
They're just human beings, just like the rest of us.
Together.
But about China,
and,
what was the land like? I know you can just kind of describe to me. I have a vivid imagination. The scenery, like the mountains or the desert, or just like the terrain that you was in China.
Oh, well, we were mainly in the city.
Oh, okay.
We weren't there nearly as long as I would like. I wanted to get to the Great Wall. Oh, Lord, how I wanted to see that.
Man,
but we did get to see the Forbidden City. Anybody who goes to China should go to the Forbidden City so you can learn some of the history of this incredible nation and these incredible people. Look, does China have problems? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Does the government have problems? Yes. Just like our government, just like our people. Do they have pollution problems? Yes, just like we do.
Yeah, yes, we do. And that pipeline's about ready to make it worse.
When I was growing up in the projects, I grew up with a lot of Hispanics, and I grew up with a lot of black people. And so, I had best friends who were Hispanics or who were African Americans. And, so when I hear about, Mexicans are all rapists and drug dealers, I go, what a sack of garbage that is. Or, people who are racists. I was, a lot of people would think, well, you grew up in a project, you were underprivileged. I think I was overprivileged because I got to learn how much horse crap all this is that we get taught to each other about. And or you want to talk about Arabs? I'm an Arab. I am Arab. So people want to start talking, and it's because, I'm pretty light skinned. So, when some people start talking crap about that, calling them sand niggers or whatever you want to call them, really?
Yeah, they're really serious.
I think that I'm overprivileged in having grown up without much money so that I know what it's like, and being able to grow up with people of other cultures, of other ethnicities, and so on and so on. I was probably overprivileged to grow up in a religious household so that I could learn, and this may sound rude, I don't mean to be rude, but so I can learn about how much garbage it was that I was being taught.
Stop.
And because believe me, it is a much, much better life to not believe that there's somebody up there watching every damn thing and every nasty thought that I have, which I'm going to have whether there's somebody nasty up there watching me or not. So, I'm a lucky guy.
Nate, I would say, to add to what you were talking about being, economically deprived, you are spiritually rich, brother. You can feel the vibe coming off of you. There's a vibe. There's a certain vibe. And you can feel it, dude. You know what I'm saying? It comes through on the videos. It comes through sitting here talking with you. You're genuine. You're authentic. You know what I mean? There ain't no bullshit. Now, people may think a certain way or whatever, but once they get to know you, they know where you stand. There is no fucking bullshit there. And that's priceless. That's priceless. People seek that. And here we're sharing it right here. Kind. And I'm
where are you located, by the way?
I'm located down here in Missouri, southern Jefferson County, just outside St. Louis. Is the big city.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot of stuff goes on in Missouri. If people want to help, if people want to get out there and do things, and I'm not just talking about animals, I'm talking about humans too, and the environment. A lot of stuff going on in Missouri. People, all you got to do is walk outside your house and start looking around, and there's things you can do to make this a better world. People who complain about the way the world is. I don't mind people complaining about it if they will just actually do something to try and make an improvement, because complaining about it alone does nothing. Words are just air, okay?
Right.
But and you don't have to do it full time. You don't have to put your life on the line or anything. Do something small, or you might find that you get such a great feeling out of it that you'll start something small and it just might become bigger and bigger.
There you go.
If people would just try that.
No, seriously, because what you're saying here has been echoed by other people I've talked with. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, the inner city, right? You see the church or the temple or the synagogue with, a graffiti on it. Don't you just walk up there and ask the priest or rabbi or imam, hey, sir, ma'am, I'm not affiliated with your organization, but I got some white paint here in the car. And do you mind? Can I just paint this over for you? And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, those people probably look at you and be like, thank you. They would be so thankful to receive any type of this little stuff or big stuff. If you have a bunch of money, absolutely bust out a check and send to somebody or whatever. But the thing is, even on the little, and I have to agree with Steve, there's nothing more rewarding in this world is when you do good for someone without wanting any praise. Like you want to do it in the secret and you do it in secret and you just come away and this person's happy and you're happy, because think about it. If you was hurting or doing bad and you have some sort of sense of pride still left, even though you might need a handout, if we call it that, or a helping hand or something, you don't want to ask, but if somebody was to pull you off to the side, hey, look, I see that you're doing bad. Something's telling me to do, and they give you $100 and you don't know this person, they don't know you, that would make you feel so good. It still make you feel that you're wanted, because everybody on this earth needs to feel appreciated.
There's something else that happens. It is a little bit, you can start a chain reaction. And where you do something good for somebody, certainly the person who's the recipient of the benefit is more likely to turn around and do something good for somebody else. And if somebody sees what you've done and sees that there's a good outcome, there's two people who didn't even know each other, see each other as maybe didn't even like each other.
Right.
Maybe one person was a Muslim and one was a Christian, or one person was black and one was white, or one was straight and one was gay, and yet one helps the other, and all of a sudden it dispels maybe whatever the prejudice was,
yes,
at least to some degree, and then maybe they turn around and go, well, I'm gonna pass that on. I'm gonna do that too, and maybe the people who saw the interaction, they go, well, you know what? That changed my outlook on this.
Yes.
I'm going to give that a try.
Yes.
And like I say, when you get the good vibe off of it, wow, that felt good to do that, or felt good to have somebody do something good for me that I'm going to pass on. I tell you, this stuff can work. Look again. I keep going back to those kids in Florida because I love them. It was one school in Florida, but then they held that. That nationwide
yes,
and international protests. That's how things like that can grow. Is just go out there and genuinely try to do good. Don't do it for profit. Don't do it for reputation. Just go out and try to do the right thing. Doesn't have to be something big. Just try to do the right thing, and good will come of it.
Yes.
Good begets good. And evil begets more evil.
Right.
And
that's true.
That's the way it works. It's this real basic law. And if we practice the golden rule, many, many good things can come of it.
Right. And the segue about that school shooting, the boy there, the one that had his fist up in the air, there was a guy here in St. Louis, Jamie Alden. He had the almond. He had the almond report, and I used the word had. He made some crazy Twitter report, and this once again it lets you see, if you're going to be out there, being a hater, and you say some hateful things, don't be shocked when it comes back to bite you. Now, this man lost his little TV show here in town there in St. Louis, and he lost his little radio show by saying he said something.
Yeah, I read that story.
Yeah, and this was like 45 minutes away from my house. So, we got to understand that what goes around comes around. And when, Steve was talking about when he used to be a hunter, right? And see, I've talked to these people, they were called the Unarius Academy of Science out of San Diego. And we were talking about in depth about karma. It's almost like, all these years you were hunting, now you're going in so hard with saving the animals. It's like you're taking off your karmatic debt as you're doing these good things. It's because,
Absolutely. I've said, I've said many times that I owe a debt that I can never repay. So and so you try to do what you can do. I may never be able to repay it. Once you've taken a life, it's gone. There's no bringing it back.
Yeah.
But you can do other things, and we all owe a debt.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Because
seriously,
none of us
that's
are
uncomfortable to say. That's uncomfortable to say, but it's the truth, folks. We all do. We're all in this together. Every time you go and you go down there and get a Slim Jim, or you go and get that burger from McDonald's or whatever, even though that's probably more or less GMO, you're still participating in the overall machine. Yeah, you're not there at the butcher shop, slicing the poor animal up or nothing. But without your patronage, that butcher guy would have been out of business years ago. So yeah, and I hate to say that, and that's what I'm talking about. We have to get people to see this for what it really is. We can't be pussyfooting no more. We have to honestly be honest with ourselves. If you want to be a barbarian, and be uncivilized, unempathetic, then embrace that. But if you understand that, that's not what I want to be about. I don't want to be in a world of hate and all that. I want to actually be in a world of love, light, and trust. That's all we want. I feel that if we could drop our prejudices, if we're going to exclude somebody from our society, and I do think there are people who should be excluded from society, but it should not be based on religion or ethnicity or gender or stuff like that. It should be based on people who are haters, who are who hurt other people, animals, and the environment. Those are the people who need to be excluded from society. That's what messes me up.
Or hopefully brought to care, But when you just don't give a damn about anybody but yourself, that's basically a cancer on the planet. And cruelty, animal cruelty,
it's like they're
is
narcissists.
Something that we've referred to oftentimes as a social cancer. If you don't cut that out, if you don't stop cruelty begets more cruelty. Violence begets more violence. And so that's the way that we should be making judgment on people and policies and that. Is it a policy of love or is it a policy of hate?
Right.
Is it a policy of violence or is it a policy of peace? And which is why this whole thing about the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun is such a load of crap.
Yeah, because
violence begets more violence.
Correct.
And it's so funny, the whole gun thing. People think I'm against guns. I'm not. I'm a licensed gun owner. But that said, in Australia, when they had a mass killing in Australia, something like 30 years ago or something like that. And they looked at it and they went, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. And they didn't ban guns. They didn't ban guns, but they made it much tougher to get a gun. You couldn't be a nutball and get a gun.
Right.
It was just about that simple. And you're going to have to really want it and really show that you were in a position to be a responsible gun owner. And so they took action. And, I think we kill more people with guns in this country in a given day than they do in a year. And so when people roll out some of the things that have worked in other parts of the world, in other countries, and we just poo-poo them, it's just amazing to me. It's like, you don't have to work that hard to show that you're stupid, buddy. Really, the answers to virtually all of the world's problems are out there. It's just a matter of people, if they would just stop arguing. It's like arguing that 1 + 1 equals something other than 2. 1 + 1 does equal 2. It always will equal 2. And, the only people who argue against it are, people who should not be listened to. Well, I'm getting such a kick out of these people, like who deny these mass murders, or literally these people who now today in 2018 literally believe that the world is flat.
I see so many videos. I'm sorry.
The guy who's going to ride a steam-powered rocket 1,500 feet, Mind you, you can jump on a commercial aircraft and, be at 30,000 feet, but this guy's going to go 1,500 feet up and he's going to prove the earth is flat. Okay, let me know how that turns out, Bob. We are in and the media pays attention to him.
Right.
I mean, we are in a crazy world.
And then a guy like you totally get a media blackout, well, you ever heard of Shark? Yeah, great white sharks, Discovery Week, Shark Week. No, not Shark Week, Shark, No, it's like they totally, that's why I was asking, your wife when I talked, have you guys noticed, has YouTube messed with your numbers? Like, say that you post a video and you look at it and let's say the video is at 700. You come back a couple hours, now the video is at like 623. It's like, I have seen that with my own eyes. And I'm telling you, you are being suppressed because your show is it's so uncomfortable on so many levels. For one, it's uncomfortable to see our political leaders in such a compromising, unethical position. Secondly, it's uncomfortable for one to actually look at their own behavior and see how their participation in all this madness is making it possible for these people to be doing these wrongdoings. And thirdly, and this is most importantly, it's uncomfortable because the truth forces you to change your behavior. You can no longer sit on the fence. You can't be a fence fitter. You really can't. You only have to be on one side or the other. That's why they suppress your show.
Well, I'm frankly at this point, I don't like sometimes the games that, get played, but the stuff that concerns me the most is when I go out into the real world and we sometimes have police do things that they do, or politicians or whatever. I mentioned we had a couple of guys that got run at by a vehicle about
almost got
a month ago now. And and 3 cameras, it was recorded by 3 cameras. And today, almost a month later, in fact, I think it'll be a month tomorrow, the local prosecutor just can't figure out what he should do. Really? Really, that's a problem for you?
I just don't know.
It's just amazing, dude. The police didn't know what to do. A year earlier, at the same place, Janet, my woman, I don't know what to call her anymore. We're not married, and a girlfriend. I mean, we're not kids anymore. I don't know what to call her. I'll call her my woman. She can call me her man or whatever. Although she usually calls me something different. But a year earlier, the owner of that club assaulted Janet right in front of a police officer. The police officer was standing right there when it happened, and she couldn't figure out what to do. And they never did anything, in fact.
It's called assault.
So, that kind of blatant corruption, even when we're talking about, some fairly serious stuff here,
yes.
Like you get hit by a big SUV, you're probably not walking away from that. And yet it just happens. And this is in Minnesota. We're not talking about,
down deep south,
Oklahoma or South Carolina or something like that. You're talking about Minnesota.
Yeah.
And, so when somebody like Trump says, oh, the Mexicans, they're rapists or murderers, I say, hey, I can show you some lily white people right up in Minnesota. And they're in positions of authority and they know exactly what they ought to be doing. They won't do squat.
No.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy that we try and, the people that we try to point to and say these people are causing the problems in the world. You want to look at the people causing the problems. A lot of them are the very people who are supposed to be leading us on the right path.
Well, Judge Joe Brown said the person you need to be looking at is, all the Obama people were a part of it. Goldman Sachs. They got their hands on a lot of crack.
We weren't going to have any Goldman Sachs in this administration, and now it's swimming with them.
Because you got to understand, this administration you got to understand the John Birch Society and the evangelistic Christian, basically apocalyptic ideology that's basically been in control ever since 1948, when the nation state of Israel was seized from the territory of Palestine by the League of Nations, which became the UN. And that's where we get all this instant strife from in the Middle East. And then we exacerbate it with oil, hoarding activities by our companies like Halliburton and whatnot. This is such a bigger play. I'm saying, on the grand scheme of things, seriously, what you are talking about with the animals is the shatter point. And what I mean by shatter point is, in any gigantic, colossal organization, such as even the Greeks, they called it Achilles' heel. There's one point on this thing that if you hit it right and your bolt is true and it strikes true, the thing will shatter and fall apart. If you can hit this animal rights, animal being sentient and understanding thing to the people, this whole juggernaut will come crashing down, because there will be no more people that will be silent. Now, there's still going to be the maniac, sociopaths, narcissists, psychopaths that will want to harm animals and humans if they could. But the overwhelming majority of good people will finally stand up and be like, no. Because we have to look at it like we're Jews in 1927. And we're saying the National Socialist Party guys, they might frown on this Passover thing we're doing here. They might frown on this. And everyone's like, we ain't listening to you. But then 1933 rolls around. You're looking around. Where's everybody at? Oh, they caught trains out of town. Well, you know where those trains led to. So this is what, this is what I'm saying. It really is this real. There's a group.
The way I see the animal protection thing too is that the day that we are willing to admit that animals have feelings, they have emotions, and it's something that we should be very concerned about. If we care about the non-humans, if we can accept that they are lives worthy of protecting, how much more certain are we going to care about people?
Yes, there it is.
If we say it's wrong to be violent against animals, then it's a given that it's wrong to be violent against each other.
Yes.
And so it is all part of the big picture. A lot of people don't get that. They want to, you care more about animals than people. Well, when I look at some asshole who says that, it does probably apply to that person. But
I'm sorry.
But generally speaking, it's not true at all. We care about them all.
Exactly.
Because we can.
Yes.
We can. We don't have to, I don't have to limit my caring to this animal or that human or that animal or this person or whatever. It doesn't work that way. In fact, it really doesn't work that way. You either are a caring person or you are not a caring person. So the people who don't care about animals or don't care about this person or that ethnicity or that religion or whatever it is they're just trying to mask that they don't care on a far more general level.
Correct. They just don't give a shit. They don't give a rat's ass.
If
they had the power, let's face it, they had the power. This show here will be shut down. We'll be stifled. We ain't talking about none of this what you boys are talking about. They'll just shut us off, push us to the wayside, and the propaganda will run unmolested. And that's what I like. You guys get out there. You don't let that stuff slide. No, you're not letting them violate your civil rights, and you're not letting them violate the natural order, the universal rights for all things to live in somewhat of a dignified manner.
Well, and, people accuse us of being anti-police. Nothing could be farther from the truth. We are very supportive of good cops.
Yes.
And I'm not saying cops who are on our side. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying cops who understand that they have a duty to keep the peace and enforce the laws.
Yes.
That's what they're supposed to do. Not like these clowns in New York who were working for the puppy millers, basically, or for the cops in Pennsylvania who are protecting pigeon shooters, who are not only abusing thousands of animals but pulling guns on people and aiming their cars at them and stuff like that. We're very supportive of good cops and good firemen and good auto mechanics and good priests and good whatever else they are. even though I have no need for a priest, I appreciate a priest who's trying to help people. You know what I'm saying? Trying to help the children and stuff like this.
Homeless.
I appreciate them immensely. What I don't appreciate is a priest who's molesting kids, or a cop who's bent, or a politician who's taking payoffs. That's what I don't appreciate.
Yes.
And we will not be quiet. Again, we're going to speak out against them. We're going to expose them, because the person, those people, and we have them in all walks of life. There are many, many good doctors, and there are some bad doctors. There are many good parents, and there are some bad parents. You got to deal with the people who are a problem, and not based on skin color, ethnicity, religion, sexual persuasion, any of that stuff. That's all such nonsense. And anybody with half a brain who's been on the planet for a couple of decades ought to be able to figure it out. In this day and age, they ought to be able to figure it out.
There is no more excuses.
We've got goofy media chasing around flat earthers claiming they're going to fly around in a steam-powered rocket ship, and it makes me crazy. It really does. I was like, what in God's name are you talking about? Or Donald Trump is going to hold a press conference. Great. I'll turn on any other channel that doesn't have him on.
In all fairness,
it's just nutty.
In all fairness, Steve, in all fairness, I have to make sure I got this. Are you like embellishing the spaceship, or did this man really say he's gonna have a steam like coal-powered fucking spaceship, or is that?
I'm not embellishing anything here. You haven't heard? Oh my God! It would be on my news feed every damn time I turn on the computer. And I don't want to hear about this guy. Please, just stop reporting. No, I'm not kidding you.
That's just obscene.
I'll ask Anna for your email address. I will send you links to this insane story.
I mean,
you think I've been making it up?
You remember that old story? Remember that old silent movie where the old boy shot the rocket ship and hit the moon in the eye, and they jump out?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, no, seriously, he's kind of using that and kind of throwing the old boy under the bus. I mean, he would actually suggest, I mean, anyone with any basic physics knows that you have to have oxygen and heat. And a steam power situation probably would not provide that much stress.
You think I was pulling your leg? I wasn't pulling your leg at all.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm telling you, this is the insane world that we're living in right now, that you've got this kind of crazy stuff going on. And that guy's not the only one that thinks that the earth is flat.
I mean, that's scary.
Not by a long shot.
That's scary. Because that same guy that thinks the earth is flat, he would claim that I am a descendant of fucking Ham and I should be cursed. I mean, that's disgusting. Disgusting. Absolutely.
Yeah. Janet's got your email address, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh man,
I'll send you some links.
I'm so sorry. Hold on. Oh my God, it's 8. I'm sorry. I didn't realize, I was only supposed to have you on for an hour. But, I mean, if you're fine.
You're having fun.
Yeah, if you're fine, I'm totally cool with it. I mean, this is how I do it. I just, it's like I said, the interview is very natural. I literally felt like, we were just sitting here, at the pub, just talking. It's just very natural, and that's what, I've always joked with my wife when she calls me vain for watching my shows later on. I'm like, if I can't make a show where I enjoy, then what's the point?
There you go.
It's not vanity. Well, Steve, I just want to thank you for spending this time with us on Special Report. Also, I want to let everyone know, please donate to the Other Morning show at P.O. Box 133, DeSoto, Missouri 63020. Send any amounts and books and tapes. We don't care. Just keep the mail flowing. And Steve, once again, would you please share your Patreon account? And if you have a main website other than YouTube, go to Shark YouTube. That's his YouTube channel. And anything you want to promote.
Well, our website address is sharkonline.org. And, people can go there and look at the issues we're dealing with. And, although we certainly need your support and all that kind of thing, the best way for each person to improve this world that we live on is just go out and do something, do almost anything. And if we all did that, that would be far more than anything that we could do.
Man, thank you, Steve. I mean, you know, uh, if anyone ever called you some sort of activist in a very negative way, they need to listen to this report here because everything you have said has been right on. Anybody with any common sense and any real decency would listen to your words, critically think them, and come up with a conclusion. Yeah, that's right. Who doesn't want to live in a world that's a little less cruel? Who doesn't want to live in a world that has a little less pain? And a lot more healthier environment for everything, and a lot of you folks and a lot of you guys down south here, y'all understand what I'm talking about with these big industrial farms. You live down creek from there. When that flux comes through and all that chemical and feces comes down the waterway and everything starts smelling, you understand what I'm talking about. Now, a lot of people in New York City and stuff, you have no clue to what I'm talking about. You're just eating that New York strip steak. Well, I'm telling you, buddy, it had to come from somewhere. And the place it's coming from is hammering the environment around it. That's all I'm saying.
It's true.
So,
absolutely true.
I mean.
All right, my friend. So you can look forward to those links on that crazy guy with the flat earther guy.
I'm going to bring that up
kidding you.
On Friday's show. I'm going to definitely bring that up on Friday's show. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand where flat earthers are coming from, because of the fact that everything has been so debased so much, people are at such a point, well, I don't even know what to believe. Is the sun really yellow? I don't know. I get it. All right. I believe most of them are just sensory overload. They just have too much information and kind of whack them out. But we're going to bring them back. We'll bring them back. We'll get them back.
Everybody's just got to relax and start using their brains.
Yes.
Use your prejudice a little less and your brain a lot more.
I used to say, we need to learn to kill our hate. If we can learn to kill our hate, then we'll be okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get off of here. This has been Special Report True Power is Mine with special guest Steve. I'm not for sure about your last Hindi for your last name.
Hindi, just like the Indian language.
Yeah, that's why I keep on thinking of it. And I'm like, I don't know, it's really that. That's shark. That's showing animals respect and kindness.
Respect and kindness.
And that's a wonderful philosophy, folks. This man is a true credit to the human race, the human family as a whole. And just keep up the good work, Steve, and we'll be watching you.
Okay, talk to you again.
All righty. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
What a great show. Once again, I want to thank Aprium Construction, LLC. I want to thank Digital Duelers for all the support for the show. And, check out the P.O. Box 133, DeSoto, Missouri 63020. Please send in show topics. If you don't have an email address, hey, write a letter. Hey, dear True Power, could you try to get such and such on the show? I'll read it. We'll reach out. That's how I got Steve. One of our viewers actually asked me to reach out, and I reached out to him. And really, he in this business, it's unheard of to talk to someone the day before the interview and not having some sort of relationship with them. So, we are rolling on a beautiful thing here, folks. But it's not just my thing. It's your thing, too. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that's been watching and supporting the show since the beginning. All right. Well, this is a special report. True Power is Mine. Peace.